Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about how to turn price shoppers into valuable clients for your med spa or for your medical practice or clinic that provides aesthetic services. And so let's just hop right into things here. So this is a video that I wanted to make for a while because one of the things that I hear all the time is that, paid ads typically attract people who are discount shoppers, Groupon buyers, price shoppers, people that are essentially just going to figure out whatever the price is and then take that and compare it to all of the competitors and then go with whatever the cheaper option is, or use your price as leverage to try to haggle or negotiate with other people on the price, right? And I think before we just blindly label every single lead that comes through from a paid ad as a discount shopper or a price shopper, it's important that we understand the typical buyer's journey, especially when it comes to higher ticket services. So how do people usually make decisions around buying things when they cost more money, right? And so I think it's important to think about this first before we just blindly label everybody. So let's just take a random example here. Let's say that you're looking for a mechanic. Let's say you have some kind of problem with your car that you need fixed, and you've never worked with a mechanic before. So let's just pretend like you don't have somebody that you go to that you really like and enjoy working with, right? Well, when you are starting that buying process, you're probably not just going to like scroll on Facebook until you happen to find somebody who's a mechanic running an ad, and then you reach out to them and just immediately start to work with them. And you're probably also not just going to Google mechanics near me and then click the very first option and without any other thought or effort just decide to work with them, right? Most people are going to enter themselves into research, right? So most people are going to go out there and they're going to Google their questions. How much does this typically cost? What can I expect? And all those different types of things, right? You're going to first get an understanding and become educated, on the thing that you're looking to buy. From there, you're probably going to compare your options. So you're going to look at different businesses in the area. You're going to ask around to friends and family. And then from there, once you've gathered all of your options, you're going to evaluate by picking the option that you believe has the greatest value to price ratio within your budget or within your willingness to pay for something. So long story short, in other words, you try to become educated first before you just rush into a decision, right? And your best buyers, the people who are going to spend the most money at your med spa and stay on as clients for a long time, are typically going to go through this process first. Most people do not just rush into decisions, especially when it comes to higher ticket aesthetic treatments, even those with disposable income, right? That's one of the biggest misconceptions I hear, is that like, oh, well, if we just attract affluent people that have lots of money, then like they'll throw the money, they'll pay the higher ticket prices for things. And although it's true that you should work on, marketing to a more affluent audience because it will be easier. The truth is that people that have money are not just throwing it around willy-nilly, right? You need to really create a strong argument as to why their dollars should be spent with you. And so it's important to remember that people are going through this process. And so when people see a Facebook ad, usually they are at the very beginning and you're already immediately asking for the sale. And so if we're just immediately asking for the sale, it makes sense that you would get price shoppers or people that are like, I have no clue like how this treatment works, what it is. And so I just need a little bit of information first, right? So that makes sense, and you can't really fault people for that. And so what questions do you typically have before you buy something? And I think it's really important to think about this. Like if I just pose that question to you, especially with higher ticket services, such as aesthetic services or medical services, my initial thoughts are, how much does something like this usually cost? How effective is it? Are there other options that get the same exact results, but for less money? How does this even work? Is it BS? Like, is it, legitimate or not? Is it covered by insurance? Can I finance it? Like, these are just a handful of the questions that I'm thinking of. And imagine if someone tried to get me to rush into a buying decision before I had all of these questions answered, or before I felt like I had a good informed understanding to make a decision, right? And again, your best buyers are going to be the ones that take their time and do their due diligence to understand these types of things before they rush into a decision. And so in this video, we're going to talk about what we can do about that. But before I get there, I want to ask you another question. So where do your best leads usually come from? And I think it's really important to think about this. So aside from word of mouth and referrals, because word of mouth and referrals are great, obviously, but they're not as controllable. But a lot of my clients say that their best leads come from organic SEO. So in other words, if you can get yourself to rank, so let's say when someone types in hydrofacial near me or hydrofacial in Phoenix, Arizona, if I can be one of the first 3 options that shows up there and I can get leads from that, they are typically the highest level of leads, or they're usually the highest quality of leads. But the question is why? Like, why are those leads so much better than the ones that we get through something like Facebook or Instagram? And the reason is because by the time that they're reaching out to you, if someone has organically found you on Google, by the time they're reaching out, they probably already have an idea of what the price is supposed to be. Let's just take a hydrofacial as example. They probably already know what a hydrofacial is supposed to cost or have a general range. They understand how it works. They believe, or they've decided that, yes, this is what I need and it will work for me. They believe it is superior to the other options or the alternatives out there. And they've even compared you to other providers and they've decided to pick you over them. Because if you think about it, if I go and type in hydrofacial near me, and then I take a look at the first 3 options on Google, I'm probably going to make a decision after I've looked at those 3 options. Like, most people don't just type in hydrofacial near me, click the very first option, and then book an appointment, right? Most people are going to look at a few different options and then make a decision after that. And so if someone has done their research, they've compared their options, and they then decide that you are the person that they want to go with, the result there is an educated buyer who chose you over everybody else. And so imagine how much easier it is to sell that person into something because they're educated and they chose you, right? They picked you over the competition. And so that's why usually you'll find that organic SEO leads, or the leads that come from that, are so much better. And so the question is, how can we take that same exact effect, or take that same exact process and build it into our paid ads so that we can get leads from paid ads that are similar, right? Or that, believe that you are the best choice. And so one of the big downsides of paid ads is that we're often meeting people at the beginning of their discovery journey, or at the beginning of their process of trying to become educated on the treatment. They don't really know how much the treatment is supposed to cost. They don't know if it works. And so they might see your ad, fill out their information, and then decide, okay, I need to go do some research on this, right? Like, I saw an ad for a hydrofacial, but I don't really know what that is. And so they go on Google, they type in, what is hydrofacial? Benefits of hydrofacial? How much does a hydrofacial cost, right? We're going to do some research on this. And so this is where price shoppers usually come from, because since they know nothing, by the time that you text them or you call them or they call you back, or you're talking to that person over text or email or wherever, they're still just in that phase of gathering more information. And that's why most people, the only question they know to ask is, how much does this cost, right? Because when we don't know what else to ask, usually we're just going to default to, what's the price, right? I need to know how much this costs so that I can make an informed decision beyond that point, right? And so just moving forward here, let's just define what a price shopper is, because there are absolutely people out there who want what you have, but will only ever choose the absolute cheapest option, right? But the most price shoppers, or people that you would label as a price shopper, are not really like that. That does exist. There are people out there who are really trying to just, penny pinch and just find the cheapest option. But most people that you would probably label as a price shopper, or someone who says, hey, what's the price? They're not really like that, because just because someone asks you for the price does not make them a price shopper. Price shoppers are really just value shoppers. So in other words, someone who provides the most value per dollar spent within my budget or my willingness to pay. So what I am doing, if I am a price shopper, is I'm going to look at my different options and then decide, okay, this person provides the most value at the most cost-effective price for that value, and they are within my budget or within my willingness to pay for this thing, right? And so the question is, how do we fix this problem? How do we take these individuals who are comparing, right, who are honestly probably going to be your best clients a lot of the times, and how do we turn them into a valuable client or customer at your business, who not only comes in and buys a treatment plan, but they continue on with you over a long period of time? And so what we want to do to solve or fix this problem is, let me just move myself out of the way. Oops. Let me just move myself out of the way so that you can see this, is to create the discovery process for your leads. And so let's just explain exactly what that means. We need to take that same exact discovery process that happens with organic SEO, and we need to try to compact it down into our sales process. So I know that might sound, let me just explain what I mean by that. That way, we are the ones who educate them, give them all the answers, and explain why XYZ treatment is superior to alternative or cheaper options. And we can explain why we are the better option than the competition and legitimately provide more value than everyone else out there, right? Too many people run ads to a discounted treatment, they get leads, and then they blast them with texts and calls, and then they wonder why people don't know anything other than to just ask price by the time that they pick up, right? Instead of hoping and relying on the leads that we generate to become educated, we can create and distribute that education to them. And so by the time that they are talking to us over the phone or over text or whatever, they already have like 99% of their questions answered. And so they are ready to become a good buyer as long as you are the person that can portray to them that you are going to provide the most value to them. And so let's continue on here and talk about how we can actually do that. So just to give you a quick example, my experience with my own business, obviously I work with med spas, and if I reach out to a med spa or aesthetic business or a clinic that provides aesthetic services, and they agree to get on a call with me, but they've never heard of me before, they've never seen any of my content, etc., then usually these are the most like skeptical leads that I have to have a conversation with over the call. They don't really know who I am. They probably have a bunch of beliefs that contradict what I believe, etc., etc. But in contrast, when someone finds me on YouTube, watches a bunch of my videos, and then books a call with me, the calls are usually much better because they understand what I do, they understand how I do it, they understand what I believe, and if they are then willing to get on a call with me beyond that point, they are usually pretty pre-sold on my process, right? And so in the same way, your med spa must quote unquote pre-sell your leads in order to deal with less people who jump right to price, or in order to take those people that would normally just ask, hey, what's the price, and help them understand the value of the treatment and the value of choosing you as the person that they're going to go with there. So how do we do it? And so how do we actually take that process of helping people become educated so that by the time that we're talking to them, they are pre-sold on the treatment? And so the first thing that we want to do is we want to think of all of the different questions, problems, or roadblocks that someone would have as it relates to your service. And then basically what that means is we can create a landing page that answers the following. And so a landing page is just like a simple page on a website, and we can answer these questions. What is the treatment? What are the benefits of the treatment? How does it work? What are the results that you can expect? Why is it better than alternatives? How fast can you see those results? How the first appointment goes? FAQs, so how fast, how does it hurt? How long are the appointments, etc. Before and afters, so as many before and after pictures as you have, your location, and then what makes you different from the competitors. And so if you can compile all of that information concisely onto a single page, then the next thing that we need to do is we need to get your leads to that page in one way or another, right? And so we can either send traffic there directly after with a form submission of some sort. So let's say we're running Facebook ads. Let's just use Emsculpt Neo. If we created this really solid page with all this information about like what is Emsculpt Neo, what are the benefits of the treatment, and then we send people to that page with an option for them to opt in as a lead at the top, then most people are going to read through that page and become educated very quickly by reading the information on there. Or what we can do is we can use that landing page and the assets that we create in your follow-up texts, in your emails, in your appointment confirmations, etc., sort of like a pamphlet that we're handing out to people. So like when a lead, let's just pretend like a lead submits their information on Facebook, and then it would kind of be like us walking up to that lead and handing them a pamphlet and saying, hey, here's some more information on Emsculpt Neo, and here's some benefits of it, and then in that pamphlet you have all these different pieces of information, right? And so really it's that simple. So we need to think of all of the questions and problems or roadblocks that people have as it relates to the service or the treatment that we're advertising. We need to create a landing page that answers all of those problems and questions, and then we need to figure out a way that we can get our leads that we generate from Facebook or wherever to that page so that they can consume that information and become educated in a much shorter process rather than so we're basically taking and mimicking that same process that happens with SEO, where someone is finding you organically, but we're just building that process for them, and then we are becoming the person who gives them the information. So another strategy that you could use is you could drip out the information over time. And so you could either send people to one long landing page that has all of that information, or you can create multiple resources, pages, or assets that you drip out to them over several weeks, this is probably the most recommended version of it. So like day one, you could send them a landing page that explains how the treatment works. Day two, you could send them a PDF that compares the treatment with alternatives. Day three, you could send them a huge wall of video testimonials from your clients, etc., 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 right? And so we are trying to take all all of that education and build it for them and be the one that provides that education for them. And so you could either do that all at once up front with a landing page, or you could take that information and drip it out over time, or you could do both. And so another bonus strategy here is that this is a little bit more advanced, but it definitely would help you. You could create a 5-day email sequence to be sent to someone as soon as they fill out their information. So let's say that someone becomes a Facebook lead. Immediately, you could send them an email on day 1 that's all about, hey, what is this treatment? So what is Emsculpt Neo? Day 2, you could send them another email about the results that they could expect with Emsculpt Neo. Day 3, you could send them the alternatives to Emsculpt Neo and why Emsculpt Neo is better than those alternatives. Day 4, you could answer a few of the most frequently asked questions. And then day 5, you can make a straight call to action to your offer. And then, of course, you would want to disperse social proof throughout. So testimonials, before and afters, et cetera, et cetera. But as you can see here, we are basically taking all of those educational pieces that people would be looking for on the internet themselves or when they're comparing their options. And we are trying to disseminate that information ourselves. And so in this email sequence, over time, we can kind of help people become more educated on the treatment so that by the time that someone says, okay, maybe I should, pick up their call, or maybe I should reach out to this company and book an appointment. By the time that happens, they are so educated and they're so pre-sold and ready to go. And so the bottom line here is that we want to almost force people to consume the content that we create for them. This way, we are attempting to compact their discovery process down into our ads sales process so that we are the one who delivers the information that they're going to go look for anyways on Google, or they're going to go ask other companies for, right? Now you are creating educated buyers instead of just waiting around for them to show up on your doorstep. You might occasionally get like a unicorn lead who is already pretty educated and they've already looked you up and all of that kind of stuff, but it doesn't happen very often and I don't like to rely on it. So instead of waiting around for them, we can create them, and we can also build trust in your business at the same time, because when you are the one who is educating people, usually they will see you as an authority, and they will, respect the things that you're saying. And usually if someone trusts your business and sees you as the authority, this usually allows you to charge higher prices as well. And so the question here is, what if people don't look at the information, right? Like, what if we create this beautiful, amazing landing page with all of this educational information, we send it out to people, or we drip it out, the information out to people over time. And what if they don't look at it? What if they don't open up the emails, or what if they don't look at the landing page? Some people just won't, right? And that's a fact of life here, is that some people are just not going to read. They're not going to look at information. I typically prefer to educate through video whenever we can, just like this video here. So creating videos that explain the treatment is always a better option than just text, but we always start at the lowest level and then we work our way up. But when you get these individuals on the phone who are still in their discovery process and the only question they know how to ask is, hey, what's the price? It's important that you have a plan of what you're going to say. So you can still rescue these leads who are just going to be price shoppers, but it's important that you're kind of careful around the way that you do it. And so what to say when someone asks for the price over text. So if they ask over text, I usually just give them the price. I just don't like wasting time with these types of leads. These individuals are almost never going to be willing to get on a quick phone call before they have a number. So there's no point in wasting your time. Like the other day I had a lead come through and they were literally like, I'm not willing to talk to anybody until I get an exact price for this treatment. And it's just like, okay, we'll give you the price. We know that you're not going to make a decision to move forward. So let's just not waste anybody's time. I have found that most of the time when people ask for price over the text and they're not even willing to get on a call with you, just give them the price and move on. There's plenty of leads. This one is not going to be the one that you're going to win, most likely. I've tried to do this before where we we say, oh, well, the pricing varies or it depends, or give like a ballpark range and then try to pitch a call after that. 99% of the time, people are not willing to get on a call, even if you are vague or even if you give them the price. So just give them the price, say, let me know what you think, and then move on. But what do you say when someone asks for the price over the phone? So if you get on the phone with somebody and the very first thing that they say is, hey, what's the price? Or how much does this cost after the first treatment? Then usually what I like to do is I like to acknowledge it and then redirect. And so in other words, I'll say, great question. It really depends. And then I'll insert a question of my own. And so I might say something like, oh, that's a great question. It depends. Have you ever had a hydrofacial treatment done before? Right. So it kind of positions it as like, I'm more than happy to help you with the price, but I need to get some more clarifying information on you first, right? So great question. It depends. Have you ever had XYZ treatment done before? And then from there, you want to just gather more data, make sure that they're qualified, ask whatever questions you were going to ask anyways. And then after that, you transition by saying, got it. Thank you so much for the information. Based on what you told me, would it be okay if I give you a little bit more information regarding this treatment and the pricing? And then from there, you would just transition into your like little mini pitch that you do on the appointment setting calls. If you feel weird about this, imagine if you called a local mechanic and you said, hey, my car's making a weird noise. How much does it cost to fix it? They'd be like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's wrong with your car, right? And that's kind of the same situation here, is that if people are just immediately asking for price, we need to make it very clear and obvious that like the price depends. It really matters. Like we need to come in and see you to understand how many treatments you need, what areas you're interested in, et cetera, et cetera. And so what we want to do here is we want to educate them after we've made this transition sentence here. We want to educate them on all of the things that your landing page would have educated them on if they actually took the chance to look at it. And then we just want to stack the value of the upfront offer that we're making and then tell them the price of the upfront offer itself. And so when I say educate them on all the same things that your landing page educates on, I wouldn't go into this big, like, you know, speech about how the treatment and how it works and all this stuff. I'd maybe use like one single treatment to explain, or one single sentence to explain the treatment, the benefits, why it's a little bit, why it's superior to other options, how fast you can see results. And then I would just go straight into explaining the offer that you made and try to keep it as short as possible, because if you just start talking and talking and talking, people are going to zone out. Like I've had situations before where in the beginning, I would have these like big long paragraphs that I would read to people about the treatment. And then by the time they got in for their appointment, they were like, what's the treatment? Like, how does this work? And it was like, okay, they clearly didn't listen to anything I said on the phone. So keep it short, keep it sweet, only talk about the things that they, you know, they're wondering about in the first place, and then explain the offer. And then from there, just try to set the appointment again. Now, sometimes if you try to set the appointment after you explain the offer and the price of the initial offer, some people are just going to keep pushing. Some people continue to push and say, okay, well, what's the cost after the first one, right? Okay, so I understand that this is a discounted first treatment. If I need multiple treatments, like how much is it going to cost if I come in for multiple treatments? I have tried all sorts of approaches with this. I've tried being ambiguous with the price and being like, oh, well, the price really depends. Like we need to see you first in order to give you a good idea. I've tried just saying the price straight out. I haven't had a lot of success with either of those strategies. It totally depends on the treatment that we're advertising. But usually what I say now is, that's a great question. Well, after the initial treatment, the price typically ranges from X to Y per session, depending on the specific areas that you want to treat and the number of sessions recommended for optimal results. During your first visit, our expert will evaluate your needs and create a tailored plan that aligns with your goals and your budget. This way, you'll know exactly what to expect before moving forward. We also provide some really great financing options, which can bring the cost down to as low as X monthly. So as low as $200 a month for even our most expensive, or for even our higher ticket packages. And this way, you're giving people an idea of what they can expect. You're giving them a range so that, first off, you're not going to waste time with people who are like, oh, I'm not willing to spend any more than, you know, $100 on this or whatever. So you're giving people a range, but you're not giving them a specific price because you can't, right? You don't really know until they come in and they get a consultation with your team anyways. So you're kind of scratching that itch of like, oh, what's the price going to be afterwards, without really giving them a specific price, because giving them a specific price at this point in the game is just, it's not going to work. And so my experience here, I've tried to, like I said before, I tried to withhold price completely, and 99% of the time, they're not going to be willing to come in for an appointment if you try to just withhold price and say like, oh, it really depends, it varies. Like they're either going to say, okay, I'll think about it and I'll let you know. They will schedule and then cancel their appointment. They'll be, you know, hesitant to pay the deposit, or they will show and then be shocked at how high the price is and then not buy it anyways. And think about it, like if I were in this situation and someone was like, oh, like, I can't really tell you about the price, but can you pay $25 deposit today? Like, I'd probably be like, no, I don't think I want to do that, because I don't know what I'm getting myself into. And I think that's the most important thing here, is that you have to give people a general idea of what they are getting themselves into. And that's what price shoppers really want to know, is what am I getting myself into? And so the question here is why? Like, why does this happen if you try to just withhold price? Well, just to give you a quick example, I want you to imagine that you are hiring a personal trainer. You find a trainer offering some special introductory session for just $20, which is much lower than the typical price that they would typically charge. And you're interested in working with this personal trainer, but you also know you also want to know what the ongoing costs will be after that first session, which is 100% reasonable, right? Like sometimes it's so funny to me that I'll be talking to somebody and they'll be like, oh, like these leads, all they do is ask about the price. Like all they care about is the price. And it's like, yeah, I probably would want to know at least a general idea of what the price is going to be afterwards too. Like, okay, it's great if you give me a $20 personal training session, but then if I come back to you and you're like, okay, every single training session after this is $500,000, be like, wow, well, I feel a little bit misled, right? Logically, you would ask the trainer about the price for subsequent sessions, and then they would respond with, and then pretend that this trainer responds with, it depends. I typically build out a custom plan based on your needs, which is like what we're typically told to say over the phone calls. Scenario A here is that the trainer gives you this vague response without any further information. Scenario B is that the trainer says, okay, well, after your first session, my rates typically range from $50 to $100 per session, depending on your specific goals and the frequency of our sessions. I also include XYZ bonuses with my sessions after this first one. During the first session, we'll discuss your needs in detail and come up with a personalized plan that works for you. Now with scenario B, you've at least scratched my itch of what is it going to cost, right? When you don't, I feel a little bit uncertain and feel less inclined to come in for that appointment, right? Because if I just have no idea of what it's going to cost in general, then I'm probably not going to be like super excited to come in for the appointment. And by the way, bonus tip, I don't know if you noticed it while I was reading this out, but if the price increases after the first one, also increase the value. So for example, if you're doing some introductory first session in this scenario for $20, but then you say it switches up to $50 to $100 after the first session, most people are just going to be like, okay, well, it's going to be really nice paying $20 for this first one, but then paying $50 or paying $100 after that per session after that one, like, I don't know. But if you increase the value, that's why I said, like, I also include XYZ bonuses with my sessions after the first one. So like after this first session, we're also going to build you a nutrition plan, a workout plan. I'm going to show you exactly how to shop for groceries on a budget, et cetera, et cetera. Then you're increasing the value, which makes paying that inflated price worth it. And so that's just a bonus tip there. If that is possible for you. So full recap to this video, what we want to do here is we want to educate our leads before, during, and after they are talking to you on the phone. And so usually the process that I use with Facebook ads is we run the Facebook ad, we get a lead, and then from there we are going to contact that lead via text or via calling to try to ultimately get them on the phone so that we can qualify them and set them in for an appointment. And we want to make sure that we are educating them before, during, and after so that by the time they get to that call, a lot of their questions that they would have normally had are already answered and they kind of have an understanding and they've already decided that, okay, I'm picking up the phone with this med spa, and they're making that conscious choice and decision, right? So we want to try to educate as much as we can. The way we do that is by creating landing pages and different educational content that we can send out to people in our follow-up process, or we can send people our traffic to directly from Facebook. And then we also want to make sure that we have a plan for what to say when someone says, how much does this cost, whether it's over text or whether it's over the phone. And that right here, I think at the end of the day, the way that you turn price shoppers into valuable customers or clients for your med spa is through education. That's the number one thing that you can do, is just educate your leads rather than sitting around and waiting for these perfect leads, fully educated leads to fall on your lap. So I hope this video is helpful. If you'd like some help with this in building out a personalized plan for creating educational content or educational pieces to increase the quality of your leads, then hit the link below in the description and book a call, and we can chat to see if that's possible for you. So thank you so much.